In this episode, we will explore a practical demonstration of OI growth.
What a beautiful morning in the Eastern Free State. Farms all around in all directions. I'm at the Clarence Commonage, a project that the community is running all about farming and farming activities and developing that skill. It's a very difficult skill. You can ask me. I've been running a farm for 5 years. I was a wannabe farmer in Magaliesburg, and I'm telling you, I spent so much money and I made so many mistakes, and it never really succeeded. Every time I planted maize and it didn't work properly, I didn't have enough staff. You work so hard. So I am meeting Matthew. Hello, Matthew. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too.
I am looking forward to our conversation, for you to tell us what is this project you are running and what is the challenges you are facing.
Thank you. I mean, we, like you rightfully said, we are in Clarence Commonage in Eastern Free State, where the government and Land Affairs had bought 2 farms for all the cattle owners and small farmers. They can utilize the land. So here, basically, what we're doing here, we've got different people. They call themselves cattle owners. Now we're trying to move away from people being cattle owners. We want them to start now being cattle farmers. To have a fruitful season, we need to produce. Then you produce 1 cattle. And with that productivity, multiply your products. Now you're in business, because now you can produce, you can multiply, and then you can sell. And then, but obviously we need to get the expert to come in to teach. If you look around here, the place is being overcrazed. That's one of the main challenges that we have in the communities.
So tell me, what is the reason why the people are fighting? What would those limiting beliefs be?
Where we're standing now, obviously the people, everyone wants to get involved in the running of the show, not knowing that this is a very complex project to run. So people, when you stand in the house and then you see your neighbor, have got a cattle, have got 2 cattle, you say, no, definitely this is what I want to do. But now, once you join the force, you go and spend the last cent, then you bought a cattle. Then that's when you realize this is actually not easy. Because with the feed, the medication, the security, you need to have all those things in place. They come here, they find it's not easy, because you need to be here 24/7.
Tell me, what's the limiting belief with regard to animals? So just get back to that limiting belief of cultural limiting beliefs.
We as an African, when my dad or my sister passes on, obviously we need a cattle to slaughter. So with that belief, you just want to have those 2 cattle for when that happens. At least we have a cattle to come and slaughter for the people that come and help on the funeral. But we're trying to break that chain. You say, listen, you need to think out of the box now. You are no longer a cattle owner. You cannot own 2 cattle for the rest of your life. You need to now start to look yourself as a cattle farmer. With a cattle farmer, you can produce more cattle. Then once you produce more cattle, you multiply your production. Now you became a cattle farmer or a commercial farmer. The project here is a good thing. It's a starting point. If you want to go into a commercial farmer, start with. There's nothing wrong. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong to have 2 cattle. That's your starting point. But you need to think outside the box, from being a cattle owner and be a commercial.
How do you break the limiting belief of that farmer that believes in the traditional ways? How do you break it?
You bring in the experts. You bring the education. Because for me, the education is very important. The education that I'm referring to is not to teach the person that has 2 farmers to remember. It's to teach him to think outside the box. Because if you teach me to remember, if you come here and then you teach me, cattle, you must just remember to take it out in the morning and bring it back in the afternoon. It's the same thing every day.
You don't switch on your brain.
You don't switch your brain. It's the same thing. Can just allow me to make an example of a very difficult situation now we're having with the COVID, globally. In Southern Hemisphere, or should I say in Africa, there's not even one doctor that has put up their hands and say, listen, I can come up with the vaccine. It comes from your UK, from all the European countries. You know why? The answer is very simple, because the educational system is failing us somehow, because they only teach us how to remember.
To imitate and to copycat what other people teach you. You don't think.
Brings in here, teaches people the management, farm management, financial management. All that you need to teach these people, then they understand from A to Z about the farming. I hope and pray that we'll break that chain, we'll break that cultural belief of doing farming.
Let's have a look at a practical demonstration of OI growth with Vivian, when she chose to buy herself a donkey for a pet.
I lived and worked in the beautiful highlands of Lesotho at an altitude of 3,220 meters. It becomes very cold, and during the winter months we experience snow. But beside all the beauty and adventure all around me, it can become lonely at times. Some time ago, a colleague of mine came to visit, bringing the cutest little kitten with him, and that made me realize that an animal friend will be good company. A cat or a dog would be a good pet, but it will become lonely because I work late hours and come home late at night. So not knowing which animal will be the ideal pet, I put the idea to rest. One morning, whilst I was doing my daily walk, I saw the ideal pet for me. I saw a donkey, and I'm gonna call it Gandhi. Although I know nothing about donkeys, I just couldn't resist it, and I immediately walked across the road and negotiated the price of the donkey with the owner. 2,500 bucks later, and very happy with myself, I took my donkey home. Being unconscious of my incompetence to the new challenge at hand, we call it A1 on the occupational intelligence scale. I left my donkey with enough maize in my unfenced backyard, thinking that it would stay there. So before I went to bed in the evening, I went to see my Gandhi, but it was gone. I searched everywhere, and luckily I found him almost all the way back to his original owner. But I had no choice than to do something against my beliefs. I fastened Gandhi in the backyard with a rope around the neck to prevent him from running away again. But that night, the temperature dropped below 0 degrees. I just couldn't sleep because I felt so bad for leaving Gandhi unprotected in the cold weather, but I didn't know what to do. So the next morning, I was shocked into higher consciousness towards my irresponsibilities when I found my miserable cold Gandhi with a layer of ice on his back. I became conscious to know that owning a donkey as a pet is not a simple task, for a donkey is not just a grass-eating object. I urgently had to respond and to find a solution. I went Googling, how does one raise a donkey? My occupational intelligence grew from A1 to A2. A donkey has a heart. It is a highly intelligent animal and emotionally clever. Even more intelligent than a horse, they say. I also discovered on the internet that they can get very lonely and depressed. So my challenge was on. I had to find a partner for Gandhi, but also a shelter for not one, but for 2 donkeys. Gandhi and his partner Savant. I named her after the most intelligent woman in history, were now my responsibility. As the time went on, the cost and care for donkeys skyrocketed, but I stepped up to the life challenge. So I came up with an idea to use an unused container. It was standing at the resort, but nobody knew who it belonged to, so nobody was willing to sell it to me. To borrow it was also not an option because I realized I needed a flatbed truck. I had to just find a new solution. I went on a mission, discussing, negotiating, and motivating people to help me find solutions. Eventually, I had to salvage raw materials at a scrapyard. And for heating the floor, I had to negotiate grass from the next door neighbors who was building these grass-thatched roofs, and I had to take some of that for the floor. Then I had to negotiate with people to help me build a fence as well as a structure. You can just imagine the OI growth in everything that I was occupied with during this period of time. Firstly, my two-dimensional side of my brain was activated when I built the structure, because I had to become systematic and apply step-by-step procedures using the correct tools and the correct materials and following the correct sequence. I also had to track and prioritize my expenses. Not only was my two-dimensional side stimulated, but also my three-dimensional side. That was the design process. I had to design the shelter, preempting the effect and the direction of the wind. My four-dimensional side came into play as I formed relationships with different people in the community. I had to first form rapport with them, then I had to enthuse them, and then I had to barter with them and create a win-win relationship so that we could like each other and that they don't feel abused. I had to do all of this the same day. That evening, satisfied for doing the right thing, I relaxed on my couch. The wind was howling. The next moment, I heard a bang, and I realized that the wooden gate at the shelter gave in. So in my pajamas, I dashed outside. The donkeys were not in the shed, and it was pitch dark, and it was snowing, and the temperature plummeted. So I had the choice: grow tenacity. I was adamant to find them, and I did. I tried in a soft, nice way to call them. It didn't work. So I thought, the only way I can do this, I'm going to manage them with fear. So I went into my house and I fetched the sjambok. But this didn't work either. When anxiety goes up, volition goes down, and the donkeys ran away. I had to apply my four-dimensional intelligence again, specifically my relationship intelligence, in order to convince somebody to tackle the freezing conditions with me and to get the donkeys back into the stable. The only human awake was a security guard. And what a surprise! His donkey intelligence flabbergasted me. He was just making a few funny noises with his lips, and confidently he guided the donkeys back to the shelter. And he told me about his experience since childhood, how he was handling donkeys. So he was A3 on occupational intelligence level. As things are now, my donkeys have a real nice stable and they seem to be very happy. And as the days went on, my entrepreneurial ideas started growing, because I realized the resort is the ideal location for fun donkey rides for kids. But this I can't manage by myself. So what I did was to approach a young man. His name is Kwai. He was previously a shepherd boy. His experience and knowledge of handling and caring for donkeys made him the ideal power partner for me. Needless to say, the partnership between two people from different cultures as well as different age groups were working very well. All because of the occupational intelligence growth that we had by rubbing off our skill sets and complementing each other in every possible way. We soon realized that the donkey rides could grow into a nice income business for both of us. In a matter of 2 months, both my partner and I have developed so many new skills or occupational intelligences. I've learned to manage donkeys, to erect fences, to build a shelter, and to form new social networks. Kwai, on the other hand, he learned sewing skills while making the pajamas for the donkeys. He also developed some financial skills and entrepreneurial skills. But most of all, he became volitionized. There's only two types of responders: initiators and non-initiators. So it all starts with an initiator who's got an idea and who's got volition behind the idea. And that starts the entrepreneurial process. And that is then going to enthuse a non-initiator who's got experience in that specific technical component that is needed. The result: the non-initiator was volitionized to move on the OI scale from non-responsiveness to response-able, which means his OI levels grew. And not only that, he became adapt-able, which means flexible, no limiting beliefs and hardwires that blocked us, and contributive, which means to be a constructive, purposeful human that cares about fauna and flora and balances people and profit, that makes the world a better place. My donkey experience should confirm that occupational intelligence development leads to value appreciation of what you were occupied with, and it ends in entrepreneurship, poverty alleviation, towards that state that all of us want to be in, a state of sustainable well-being.
Occupational intelligence is the intelligence you need to live a successful life. OI incorporates all intelligences: 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, and 4-dimensional. Intelligences like linguistics, logic, social, mathematical, spatial, and spiritual. The intelligence is not merely theoretical information, but an intelligent energy that is responsive to all life's changes. Every time you choose to occupy yourself with a constructive activity, your occupational intelligence will inevitably grow. Stepping out of your comfort zone allows you to form new neural pathways in your brain. If you strengthen that experience with something more challenging, your ability to respond to bigger challenges will improve. The OI development process forces the person to switch on all dimensions of their brain and become an initiator who offers opportunity for those who are still non-initiators. Isn't OI the most amazing intelligence that we all desperately need in order to improve sustainable well-beings in all humans? In the next episode, we will interpret the 8 spheres of life in an OI way.